So you're in ministry and you need volunteers. Has anybody been there? I've been there a million times myself. So if you're watching this video, we're going to show you a few tips on how to get more volunteers in your ministry fast. Starting off with the first one is to have a clear target. Just like any other goal you have in your ministry, whether it's to grow or whether it's to hit a certain number of attendees or baptisms or whatever that might be, you need to have a goal number in mind and have it be something specific, not just like, I want to grow my ministry team. But the more specific you can be, this is really important. So let's just say, hey, I need 2 more volunteers, or I need 5 more volunteers. I'm going to show you the biggest thing that's helped me personally in my ministry at my church locally is this: to run the rule of 10, or sometimes if I'm feeling really crazy, the rule of 20. The rule of 10 is really simple. It's to take whatever number you need, say it's 2, and you multiply it by 10. So you need 2, that's going to be 20 people. And it's to make a commitment to make a list of 20 people. Yes, that's right, I said it. It's 20 if you need 2, because what that does is it's going to force you to stretch yourself to have conversations that you wouldn't normally have. And it's going to get way more volume of conversations and people to think of. And you might hit, and you might only brainstorm a list of 7. Then you're going to realize, oh my gosh, I've got to come up with 13 more people to add to my volunteer team. And what it does is it's going to put you in a mindset of expanding beyond your vision of what you currently think is possible. And like I said, if you're feeling really crazy, put a 20 multiplier behind it, and then you really have to start thinking outside of the box. And you might get yourself into a spot where you don't just end up adding 2 people to your team, but you end up having way more conversations and adding more people than you ever actually imagined. The next one is to start with the volunteer team that you have right now. I go off all the time and I grab people that are my high performers on my team, small group leaders, whoever it is I'm looking to recruit that are in that area. And I just ask them, I say, man, who are you guys in group with? Who's in your life group? Who are your friends? Who do you think would be really great at working with students? And let them do some of the recruiting for you. Say, hey, would you mind maybe going and having a conversation with that person that you know that I don't really know yet, and ask them to see if they're interested in serving with students. And if they are, have them text me, have them call me, and be generous with giving your contact information out. Or maybe just, if they're not comfortable with that, just say, hey, can I just get the name? And then I'll reach out and I'll make you the bad guy. I'll say, hey, Brian told me to have a conversation with you, right? And make a list of those people to be praying for and to be talking to, and get that list in front of you. That's huge, is to make something visual that you have, put it up on your computer screen, put it on your task management system that you might have. I use Asana for myself. It helps me stay really organized and all my tasks right in front of me. Or just old school, write it on a sheet of paper and put it up on your wall in your office. I don't know what it is for you, but get that list in front of you so that it's top of mind all the time, and you won't stop recruiting and getting people until you accomplish that goal. Next biggest thing is the power of one-on-ones. One-on-ones are so powerful. If I call you, it's a lot easier for you to say no, or if I email you or text you, to defer that because it's less uncomfortable. But if we're sitting across from each other at a coffee or a lunch, and man, for you to say no to volunteering on the team, that I'm looking you in the eyes and say, man, would you consider praying about being a part of this team, to be a part of what God is doing in our church and in our ministry, or whatever it is that you're leading? It's a lot harder to say no to that. It gives people time to digest and to see, really not just, hey, I'm desperate, I need your help serving in this area, but to really be thinking, man, is this something that God would actually want me to do? And one-on-one interactions over a meal or over a coffee, or going to somebody's house and having a conversation with them, are so much more powerful than just what most of us do, which is blast out an email, get on stage during church or something and do a quick announcement, maybe send a couple text messages and say, oh man, recruiting's really hard right now. It's getting old school and getting in front of people as much as you can in person. Just being realistic with what actually works. I say email is the worst for persuasion, right? Like we've heard that a million times. But nothing is better than one-on-one conversations. The next is to work with other people's networks on your staff team. Sometimes we feel a little bit on an island when we're recruiting for our team. We say, hey, this is what I'm responsible for. These are the people that I'm supposed to be in charge of getting together and leading and recruiting. And yes, while that's true, there's a lot of other people probably that you work with. Even if you're just at a church of you and maybe your senior pastor and an admin, like, let those people help you and ask them, say, who are your connections people at your church? Who do you know that would be really great in this role? I've gotten some of my best volunteers from referrals of not just people that are on my volunteer team, but other people that are on our staff team, because they are more than likely are having interactions with people that you aren't talking to all the time, with your kids' people. And just remember, there's times and seasons where people rotate in and out of teams for whatever reason. They get bored, they have kids that are getting older, that are in a different stage of life. And it's helpful to be thinking through, man, who are not just random people to ask, but who are some strategic people to ask? And I've got really my three best. Number one, parents of kids who already love your ministry. There's parents in your church or your ministry that love what you're doing, but have never had anybody ask them to serve. So they're easy. There's parents of kids who love your ministry. Look at the kids in your student ministry who are there all the time. And if their parents aren't serving, that's a great person to have a conversation with about joining your team. Empty nesters. There are so many people that I've experienced. Some of our best leaders ever have been people who are a little bit more seasoned in life, who maybe served with student ministry a long time ago, maybe before they had kids, and now that their kids are grown and out of the house, that they're really looking and praying for opportunities to invest in the next generation, just in a way that they did with their kids in that season. And youth ministry is a perfect place to get people who are empty nesters, maybe aren't the first go-to that you might think, that have so much value, so much wisdom, so much teaching, and all these spiritual gifts that they've been refining for decades longer than we have, to invest into the students that are in your ministry. Third thing are college kids and young adults. College kids are amazing because they have a lot of extra time. They might not say that they do, but that's really our job to help them see, like, hey, yes, you really do have time, and you have the energy to go on retreats and to stay late. While they might not always be the wisest, they have a lot of availability. But let me tell you, my favorite, the best ones that I've seen are your dinks, your double income, no kids. These are the people who have a really good rhythm of life. They're getting plugged into the church, and they don't have their own little kids yet. These are oftentimes people that have the most bandwidth and are really in that sweet spot of being able to serve with students. Next is to get people serving in lower level areas of ministry, however your program is structured, to help them really see what it is that you're doing. And when you get people serving in areas like greeting, or if you have snacks or security, or these different areas of setup and pack up, whatever it might be for you, to get them just to be around the environment of your ministry, because a lot of times people don't really know what we do. I think a lot of people think of youth ministry and they think of back in the day, like playing line tag and just playing dodgeball all the time, where they don't really understand that discipleship and disciple making is probably an integral part of what you do. At a minimum, of leading small groups and engaging in relationships with students is at the heart of your ministry. So getting people serving in lower level areas really expands their understanding of what it is that you're doing at your church. And a lot of times people just need to see that. They need to come and see a baptism. They need to come and experience a worship service. They need to come and sit in a small group and see and really visualize themselves doing that, saying, I think I can do this. I think I really want to do this. And it's amazing what happens when we get people serving in a lower level area of serving first, that a lot of times they want to upgrade and go to the next level, especially if your ministry is structured and has a clear pathway for them to grow and expand, where they have a level 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 areas of ministry leadership that they can step into. Another thing is to go to church events that you don't have to be at. I know that we're all busy and that we all sometimes are like, I have my area and I don't always want to go to all those other events, but it's amazing if you just go and you have no responsibility and you can just walk around and have conversations with people. I'm just going to go to this event. That's maybe a kids ministry event, or I'm going to go to this event that might be another thing. And I'm just going to watch people and see who's charismatic, see who has the character qualities of that maybe a small group role, whether it's an admin role or maybe a specific type of group leader that you're looking for. I know for myself, oftentimes there's specific types of people and character qualities that I'm looking for in a role that I'm recruiting for at any given time. Getting around people that you're not normally around is a great way to expose you to people that you wouldn't normally talk to, that may be an opportunity for you to recruit them to join your team. The next is to go to your ministry, a membership class or assimilation process, whatever that looks like. For our church, we have a membership class that happens once a month. To make a priority every once in a while, get into that class. Maybe you have an entire day on a growth track at your church, or where all they're talking about is serving. And for some of you guys get leads of people to have conversations with out of those, but there's nothing better than you going to that class or having someone on your team being physically present to have conversations and get people signed up day one who are looking to serve in your church. So that's a great opportunity. That's low-hanging fruit that other people in your church are already probably being a part of, that are already facilitating that meeting for you, that you can just hop in and sort of piggyback and ride the momentum that they have of getting people plugged in to the ministry that you're trying to recruit for. Finally, really, this is probably the biggest one, is just to pray. I mean, I'm encouraged. Matthew chapter 9, Jesus looks at his disciples and he says, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Like, there's a lot of work to be done and people to reach, but we just need more people that are willing to do it. Instead of just going out and hustling and working harder, I want you to take a second and I want you to pray and ask the Lord of the harvest to raise up laborers to go out into his harvest field. As kingdom workers, that's what we do. Like, we're looking for people that are willing to work hard for the Lord in making disciples of people, from people setting up and packing up or leading small groups, that we are praying and asking God to send us the right people. Before we go, here's a couple more recruiting tips, do's and don'ts. Number one is don't let people say no for you. Let them say no to you. Oftentimes we let fear hold us back from having a conversation with somebody that we think would be an all-star. You're like, man, that person would be amazing, but they're already serving here. That there's no way that they would say yes. Don't let them say no for you. You call them, you meet with them, you set up an appointment with them, and you ask them yourself. Because a lot of times people that are high capacity for a reason, because they love serving, they love investing in other people, and they may say yes and they may not, but you'll never know until you go and ask them. So don't let them say no for you. And another encouragement, a no today isn't a no tomorrow. That oftentimes people, for whatever reason, might not be able to serve in your area of ministry right now, but they might be able to 6 months from now. They might be able to a year from now. And to be consistent in working those conversations of people that are in your network that you really want to serve with your students. Finally, is to have a clear vision. Is when you're having these conversations, to not go in and be desperate and say, oh my gosh, we really need your help. Would you please help us? That really, at the end of the day, being desperate is kind of creepy, and people can sense that, and they don't want to really serve in an area. They're like, oh, you're drowning? I don't want to hold on to the Titanic down with your crazy ministry. No, they want to see the stories of what God is doing. And we want to compel people with truthful stories of things that the Lord is doing in the lives of students. Share stories of life change of your volunteers that are currently serving, whether that's a baptism story, whether that's the story of a leader that's gotten involved, that has had an amazing experience and had their life changed by investing in young people in your ministry. Share those stories of kingdom wins that are happening all around you. And last, don't settle for getting the wrong people on your team. Wait and be patient. And I follow a motto is to recruit all stars only, because we know that it's better to do better ministry with fewer people than get a bunch of people on the bus and a bunch of people serving on your team that don't really want to be on your team in the first place, that are going to maybe only be there for a short season, but don't really have the best attitude. It's better to be picky, to have a clear profile of who you're looking for, and to be relentless with getting people on your team that fit that profile. Now, I hope this was helpful for you in your recruiting. So I encourage you, make a list, work it, and then get to it and apply these principles to your recruiting to get volunteers fast. Now, thanks.